like to call the Village Departmental Board meeting to order, please. If you would stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And if we'd all keep our first responders and those working in the medical field in your thoughts, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Trustee Carter?
Present.
Trustee Mariscal?
Present.
Trustee Kazam?
Present.
Trustee Gatt?
Present.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Present.
Trustee DeVore? Trustee DeVore?
Trustee DeVore, are you on the call?
Trustee DeVore?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm present.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have everyone back for this meeting. We'll try and roll this along. The first is the comments from the audience. Anyone on the line, again, from the audience or the public that would like to make a comment, now is the time to do so. Any public comment? Going once? Going twice? Public comments closed. We'll be at item 5, approval of the board minutes from Tuesday, February 18th, 2020, Tuesday, February 25th, 2020, and Tuesday, March 3rd, 2020, and Thursday, March 19th, 2020. I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion on that or any questions to any of the minutes or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it. We would be at old business. Any old business to come before the board? Hearing none, we'll move right into new business. The first is an action item, approval of the fiscal year 2020 through 2021 budget for the village and the library. I would ask for a motion to approve that.
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
Second.
So we are on the budget. Any further discussion or comments on the budget?
Trustees, you're all unmuted if you have comments.
Can somebody tell me what the employee public relations line is
Is that?
under administration?
Yes. Specifically, that is used for anytime the village sends condolences for the Christmas party for the employees, just general costs of goodwill to the employees.
Okay. The bonuses weren't in that portion, correct?
That's correct. They're in salaries.
Okay, so were the bonuses pushed through and passed then without us talking about that?
No.
No, they were not.
Okay. Let's see, the other question I had on here was, on that rental village property where it was 30,000 and we got 7,500, was that for that building over there? I can't remember the name of it, the one where they're planning to put the popcorn candy place?
Are you referring to the pump house?
Yes.
Correct.
So is that rental village property, did all we received from him was $7,500 for 2019, 2020?
Correct.
And was it prorated or something, or why only that amount?
Well, I think there were a couple things. I know that they did make some repairs to that property, but as far as the amount, I'd have to go back and look exactly. I know that there were some other things with the lease that were caught up from their attorney, I believe. So it didn't take place immediately. There was some language that had to be worked through on the agreement, so that was probably why it isn't as high as you would think.
They did about 30,000 in leasehold improvements, so, Council, do you have a better answer? I know you worked with their attorney.
I don't. There was no clear lease commencement. We went back and forth with language that we discussed at a board meeting, and the board gave authorization for a change in language, and their attorney never got back to me to finally approve that. Once we agreed that we have a lease, they commenced paying rent, and that would have been at the end of last year, I want to say.
So moving forward, yes, that amount will be greater because obviously we have the agreement worked out, but there was a delay in that at first. That's probably why the number isn't what you would think it would be, Trustee Mariscal.
Okay, so we can pretty much bank on the fact that 30,000 is going to be what we're going to be collecting in rental from that building then?
Correct.
Yes, we have a signed lease, and that's what they're paying their rent monthly.
All right, and if they decide to do any upgrades, changes, yada, 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 we're not responsible for the payment of that. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
No,
You're correct, and they also have done, as I mentioned, I think about 30,000 in leasehold improvements to the roof and some other things. They might have done some landscaping, and I don't have that in front of me, but
in the next phase is projected to be 5 times that, Trustee Mariscal, as far as outfitting it for that business that I talked to you about at our last phone call, which would be the popcorn place.
yeah, and they have a potential tenant, and of course, that would have to come before the board for approval, notify neighbors, but, I had Dustin make you all aware of what the business they're looking at, but again, the board will have the final say on whether or not that's a tenant that's suitable. But they still have to pay rent whether they have a business in the building or not.
Okay, and then again, I know that they're probably going to have to make a lot of changes to that if they want to make it into what they're talking about, so.
There's a lot. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. There's a lot of life safety issues in that building. As you know, that's a very old building, built during the Depression, and so there are a lot of improvements that they would have to make it suitable for ADA compliance.
Okay.
But they bear all that, Trustee Mariscal. They bear the expense of all that.
Okay, great. Under public relations, on the marketing, so it looks like we've doubled that amount from last year. Well, a little bit. What we projected was doubled for this year. Does that line item really need to be $40,000 for marketing?
You have that in front of you, Dustin?
No, I don't. What line? What line?
It's 6510 in administration on page 4. So it's the second from the top in
Page
public
4, sorry.
relations.
Toward the bottom there. The two I'm looking at really are marketing for $40,000 and economic development for $68,000. So that right there is what, $108,000. Does that all need to be put into that right now, or are we just going to say we're going to scale back on that, or how are you planning to do that?
Well, we're projecting, that's the number we projected, but moving forward, I mean, if we have to scale back, we're going to have to scale back. But there's a lot going on in the village, obviously, in marketing and in public relations. So, I mean, like every line item, just not those two, we're going to have to take a hard look and really tighten our belt moving forward. But that is what we projected to spend. So I wish I had a better answer. And you know what, I hope
I know it's difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, trustee Mer,
I think what I'll do then is I'll just keep an eye on it as time goes on and just get with you and Stephanie and see where we're at on those amounts.
We would appreciate that. More eyes on this, the better, so I would appreciate that, Trustee Mariscal.
yeah, trustee Mariscal, you're exactly right. We're going to be looking at that this weekly. I mean, we have staff meetings every week, Stephanie and I, and we're going to be watching this every week. So, any input, any meeting, you want to set up a meeting with me one-on-one to go through, we can. So, you're exactly right. We're not, we'll be keeping an eye on this.
Okay. All right. That would be all I have then.
Anyone else want to make comment on the phone? Anyone else? Okay, Trustee Getter, Trustee Weisenberg, any?
No, I'm good.
I know we're in uncertain times financially, so, but I would hope in the coming years that we would start to budget to do some upkeep in the neighborhoods, the sidewalks, curbs. That's desperately needed. I'm constantly on people, you got to keep up your properties. But, if the sidewalks and curbs are falling apart, homeowners don't really feel all that motivated to keep their lands landscaped and the siding nice and things like that. So I would hope in the coming years that we can actually start budgeting to do some of those upkeeps and repairs.
We used to have a sidewalk and curb program. We tried it, but there are so many streets in the village that need it. You pretty much had to, depending on how much you had in the budget, you had to pick the worst one that you could afford at the time.
Right.
And there is an ordinance about keeping your yard up and not letting, our officers have gone down the alleys and giving people citations for, the bushes coming out too far into the alley and stuff, because that can be a hazard.
Well, I just want to make a comment, and it's a great point, Trustee Weisenberg, and I'm going to go back to when the police department took code enforcement over, and I'll make a couple comments about, people that are in law enforcement, or at least familiar with law enforcement, have heard the broken windows theory. If you continue to let neighborhoods break down, you're only going to invite certain things. And we took the bull by the horns 10 years ago with this code enforcement zones and everything else, and again, going from 30% compliance to 90 in the first year, I'm very proud of, but it's an ongoing battle. But you're exactly right. If we don't do some things in neighborhoods, and I know we're looking to revitalize the curb and sidewalk program that was eliminated years ago, I know that this administration, working with Mike, working with Trustee Carter, looking for grants to bring that program back, I'm right with you, and I think everybody's on board. This administration, they understand how hard or how important this is to the community, and that's not even going. I go off into another tangent on this as far as the neighborhood programs we're working about for grants for housing, and I could talk about that all night. But I think we're all on the same page and after the same goal. So, but I'd agree with you.
Well, and I might add that I agree with you. Those are goals that I share with you. We were on the road to setting some money aside for capital improvements, and now we've hit a major bump in the road. We don't know where we're going to end up. But again, the Hassel-Levine planning continues to go on, and once all that information is compiled and we identify what the residents' top priorities are, we need to get back to focusing on that too once we get through this crisis that's before us. But you make great points, and I agree with you.
I got one more question about the budget. With this budget, are we still planning on increasing the property tax liability for the village of Peoria Heights? Will there be a levy increase with this budget?
Well, that's up to the board. The board sets, you mean the levy?
Right. Are we, for this budget, for the next time we levy, are we planning on increasing property taxes?
This budget, we receive the levy funds the fiscal year after we levy. So this budget reflects the levy that was passed in December. So the question of what the board will do in December is entirely up to the board, and next year's budget will reflect that decision.
And we don't raise the property taxes, if I understand that correctly.
We raised the levy, and then they did.
Well, the levy is in order for us to pay bills, because it's already been, correct me if I'm wrong, it's what, they've already paid their taxes, and we vote for the levy and stuff, so we can pay our bills with it. Correct, Mayor? Stephanie, right? The levy is just to get Because the taxes have already been,
Well, and I
Okay, so-
think your end goal is to keep property taxes low. I think that's it, and by us having a balanced budget and not borrowing money and living within our means, I think that's good government. But I would also remind you that out of the dollar that everybody pays in property tax, we collect about a nickel of that. So our impact on the property tax bill is really minimal, but we can be a good example of good government, I think, to everyone else to try and keep property taxes low.
Yeah, so if we have balanced budgets for the next couple years, then there should be no levy increases.
I would agree with you, and I don't want to, but now, in the past, the boards have raised the levy up to 5%. But that can change, and that's a policy decision by the board.
Okay.
So administration will make a recommendation when the time is right on a levy, and the board either approves that or adjusts it.
Right, and the reason I mentioned this is because when we were having the public meetings with the comprehensive plans, one of the complaints from one of the citizens was the property taxes are always going up. Well, I understand we don't take much property taxes, but if everyone takes a little, that adds up to a lot. So it's got to stop somewhere. At some point, people need to balance budgets and stop increasing the levies.
I heard that too, and I heard one of the realtors stand up and say that she has sometimes a difficult time with potential buyers wanting to move here when they see what the property tax bill is going to be. And I know we all want people to look at the heights when they're considering a move. So, anything else, Trustee Weisenberg?
No.
Okay, I think we're ready to vote then. Anyone else on the budget?
Just one last thing, Mayor Phelan. You're familiar with a lot of the people on the county board. Have you heard anything about if they're going to push out the due dates for property taxes?
I thought I saw something. I can check on that. Or Dustin and I can tomorrow. I think I thought I saw something from the Peoria County Assessor on tax bills. Have you seen that, Dustin?
Yeah, there was no action on that email. It was just kind of just informational, but it was.
I think administratively they did that, but will you check on that tomorrow? We'll get an answer for you on that, Diane, and I know the township assessor here for Richwoods, the township collector normally starts collecting taxes once the tax bills are mailed out, and that's usually late April to early May. And I'm not sure that the tax bills are going to be sent out on time, so we'll get some more information on that.
Okay.
Council, do you know?
I've not heard anything definitive on any kind of abatement or delaying the payment deadlines. I'm sure I would have if they adopted it, so I'll keep my ear to the ground on that.
But we'll contact Chairman Rand or Scott Sorrell tomorrow.
Mayor? Sorry to interrupt. I did see something about the Peoria County Treasurer seeks to adjust installment payments. Could that be what?
Seek what?
Seek to adjust installment payments.
Yes, that would be it.
Yeah, that hit the news today. So I don't really have the details, but it did come up in my email that they're trying to do that.
Yeah, so they would
And
make.
that's one of the taxes that you're talking that we collect the nickel on, the 124,000 that's on there. I think it's like the first line item.
Yes.
So that could potentially affect us too.
If we get our money a little later, yeah. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Essentially, Trustee Mayerscough, my biggest concern for the village is cash flow. A lot of these things that are going to happen are going to change due dates, and so what's going to happen is there will be a period of time where we might not be receiving as much money in. We will receive funds at some point, just not maybe when we're used to receiving them. We have strong reserves right now, so I think cash flow will not be a problem, but it will be one of the things I will be monitoring.
That's a good question. We'll get you an answer.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Carter.
Aye.
Trustee Mayerscough.
Aye.
Trustee Kazam.
Aye.
Trustee Gett.
aye.
Trustee Weisenberg.
Aye.
Trustee DeVore.
Aye.
Okay, that Passes?
Passes 6-0.
Thank you all, and I want to thank administration for putting together a budget that we can all agree on, and again, we'll monitor this every week. So we'll move on to Public Works. Trustee Carter, the first is an action item, approval of an MFT resolution in the amount of $206,222.92 for road salt, seal coating, spray patching, and engineering. Trustee Carter, could I get a motion to approve that?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the 206-222.92 for road salt, seal coating, spray patching, and engineering.
And a second, please.
Second.
Trustee Gett, second. Cheryl, go ahead. Would you like to explain this?
Chief can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not sure if Mike is in there, but, or if he's on the call, but this is typically what we approve every year for the next year, like the salt. We have to order the salt now, get it in, I guess, get it ordered, so when we do need it in, say, November, December, that we have access to it. So this is really just for the upcoming year that we have to, if we're going to do any seal coating or what's the other thing? Spray patch. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. So I'm not sure exactly, Stephanie, if you know off the top of your head, what we paid last year? Or,
For seal coating? Or
I'm sorry?
for seal coating or something else?
This whole thing,
I
thing
don't,
from Herman, this,
okay. I don't remember what we budgeted for, but the actual was around 233,000. So we spent about 233 last year.
Mike Casey, I know you're on the phone. Do you have anything to add?
That has more in it. I'm sorry, that has more in it than what Herman and Associates. This is an Illinois Department of Transportation that we have to do every year, and they're projecting that we're going to spend $206,222.92, whatever it is. This is projected for our seal coating, the salt that we're going to be needing in the upcoming season, and snow patching. I mean, this is something that we do every year. It's an estimated cost. I don't think that it goes over that unless we use more information. But it seems like Mike Casey and the Herman, excuse me, Herman and Associates, they talk this through. They go over the village and see what needs to be done and kind of estimate it. And this is where we're at.
Which is less.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? If you're ready to vote, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Trustee Carter?
Aye.
Trustee Mariscal?
Aye.
Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Gett?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, that passes. Anything else under Public Works, Trustee Carter?
Not that I am aware of, no.
Mike Casey or
Ms. Davis?
anything?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here, Mike. Just to let everybody know what Cheryl's getting at, we do that every year. It's just protocol, the salt we use, spray patch. We drove the roads. We see what's bad. We kind of budget use MFT funds and budget it for what's in worse condition as far as roads. Salt's kind of a guessing game, but I'm kind of getting that worked out. But just that said, and everything else that we're doing, we're kind of trimming the alleys now, just to give you a little information, keeping up on our potholes and not congregating with too many people, staying our distance between each other, and trying to take care to stay healthy. So, any other questions about the MSP, I can answer anything.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Dave, anything from you? Dave Marfell, are you on the line?
Yeah, I'm here. Nothing new as far as the water company. We are we're currently in a reactive mode instead of a proactive mode due to the virus. We're trying to stay clear out of houses, away from the public. As Mike said, just trying to stay healthy. So nothing to update.
Thank you, guys. And we'll move on to administration with Trustee Gett. The
Thank you,
first is
Mayor.
discussion of approval.
Do you know, Mayor Phelan, are we providing them with PPE gear or anything if they should have to go into a home?
I don't believe we're going into homes, but I'll let Dustin take that question.
That is correct, Trustee Mariscal. They are not going into homes. And as far as our first responders, that we do have all the equipment needed. Thankful for AMT and their generosity and everything they've been able to provide our police department and fire. But if Public Works were to need anything, we do have gloves. We do have other supplies that we could give them. But as far as that goes, we've really restricted going into residences regarding the landlord registration program, the Public Works. There's a lot of things that we've just suspended until we're in a better place.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to administration with Trustee Gett. The first is discussion of approval of ordinance 2020-1622, an ordinance authorizing imposition of a residential waste collection and disposal fee. Trustee Gett?
I make a motion to pass ordinance number 2020-1622.
And a second, please?
I second.
Okay.
Was it an approval or just a discussion? The motion was to approve. It's just discussion.
What is the deadline, Stephanie, that it has to be approved by?
The end of the month, the end of the month,
So this was on here for discussion
yes.
and then approval at the next meeting in April.
Yes.
This says discussion of approval for ordinance. I'm the one that put on here last year that we revisit this every year in case something's happened differently for our, with our economy and everything, and maybe we could rescind it, but I don't see that happening. I still, we're gonna have to keep it on there, what I think, and I do see you have it in here for us to revisit it next year.
Well, I would like to ask council, the way this is worded, discussion of approval, am I splitting hairs here, or is it one or the other, or would it be just discussion, and would you feel comfortable moving it to the next board meeting?
I would be more comfortable moving it to the next
Okay,
board meeting,
yeah.
and we do have time. When I saw that, I saw the word discussion, and it didn't even cross my mind that it also said approval. I think technically we could get away with approving it, but we have until the end of the month.
I think it says discussion.
The current fee doesn't expire until April 30th, let's put it that way. So there's nothing to be gained by doing it tonight versus the 21st.
I would say that the motion is to send it to the next meeting for action.
That makes more sense under the circumstances.
So go ahead, Trustee Gett, you still have the...
Well, like I said, that was one of the stipulations I put in it about revisiting this every year for, just in case we could, because for years, residents of Peoria Heights didn't have to pay for their trash pickup. We're not going to, now with everything going on as it is now, we're not going to be able to back off of this. And honestly, $10 a month and what all it covers, I talked to people who live in Peoria, they pay a lot more than we do. But I say we keep it as is and keep revisiting it every year. Maybe we can lower it at some time. I know $10 could be a lot to some people who are on really tight fixed incomes, but that's my opinion on this. It says discussion, and put it to the next board meeting, so we have time to discuss it. Anybody else?
Is there any other discussion on this? And again, the motion is to send it to the next board meeting for action.
Trustee Mariscal, just to clarify, since you originally seconded an approval, are you okay with seconding the motion to move to the next?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
I think it's prudent to review it yearly. Personally, I would like to see us return to the way it used to be with not paying for it. I don't think we should make decisions on what Peoria does, personally. I think the more unique our village is, the more we can offer our citizens. We want people to move here and start families here. We don't want them to move to Peoria. So if, I know $10 doesn't make a lot of difference to a lot of people.
But there are some.
There are some. I don't like the fee. I could say it's maybe half the reason I'm here is because I didn't like that blasted fee, and I put my name
every day at my
I
house.
put my name on a ballot. But I think we need to be unique. I don't think we need to bankrupt the place, but I think if there's a way that we can reduce the cost of living in the village to attract families, I think it's a good thing to do. So I do think it's prudent to review it yearly, but I'm okay with moving it to the next board meeting.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
All right, this is a motion to move ordinance 2020-1622 to the next board meeting. Trustee Carter.
Okay, so we're voting to
move the ordinance to the next agenda for action.
okay, aye.
Trustee Mariscal.
Aye.
Trustee Kazam.
Aye.
Trustee Gett.
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg.
Aye.
Trustee DeVore.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Next is an action item, approval of ordinance 2020-1623, and ordinance amending the liquor license provisions of the village code for the village of Peoria Heights, Illinois during the period of disaster declaration. Trustee Gett?
I move to pass ordinance number 2020-1623.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you. Go ahead, counsel. Will you explain what we're going to do here?
Yeah, Mayor reached out to me, or it was probably Chief Sutton reached out to me a few weeks back on this. To be perfectly honest, our liquor code, which was drafted up probably 70, maybe 80 years ago, is not necessarily the model of clarity. I interpret it, I think the only fair way to interpret it is that in most cities, packaged liquor sales are dealt with separate from on-site consumption sales. But our code for the restaurants, it allows on-site sale for on-site consumption, and then for each license category, it says, and all other liquor sales. So what would that be if it's not packaged sales? So my legal interpretation of our code is that all license holders are allowed to sell packaged liquor, 6-packs of beer, anything that's sealed. However, I think our restaurants weren't of the impression that they had that ability and they wanted some sort of clarity to it. So I went ahead and drafted this. Again, I don't think we could enforce the code against them if they were to sell packaged liquors, and I told the mayor he could pass that on to them if he wanted, but we wanted to get this on the agenda just for the sake of clarity.
So this means that the restaurants can sell packaged liquor?
Correct. So now a
Just wanted
restaurant.
to make sure, because I'm like.
Yep, it's clear now with this that a restaurant can engage in packaged sales.
And I
6-pack bottle of wine.
And I also want to point out that's a major point is factory sealed, if you will.
Yep.
And I also, just a little bit of history on what we're seeing. I think a lot of the residents aren't used to seeing people walk out of there with alcohol. The police department has received a few calls. We've followed up on them, and everybody's been in compliance, and everybody's been great. But we've been 100% reactive on that,
Yep.
and we've done some follow-up. But again, everybody's been in compliance, so I think everybody understands, and it's been just a good team effort.
Yep.
So, and partly what prompted this, I had a couple of calls from restaurant owners who said, we've got people coming in, getting carry-out, and they might want a 6-pack or they might want a bottle of wine. So we're just trying to help our restaurants and bars get through this. Any discussion?
So is the concern that people are going to consume the alcohol they buy at the restaurant and then walk down the street drinking it? Is that one of the concerns?
Correct. It has to be factory sealed. They cannot
Okay.
consume it on site during this time. Obviously they can't walk out with a mixed drink. That's an issue, so.
So if we pass this ordinance, would it just be in effect during this disaster period, and then after that, they can no longer sell it? But
Well, what I'm telling you is if we tried to enforce, absent this ordinance, if we tried to enforce the the liquor code against a restaurant that had sold a six-pack to somebody, walked out with a brown paper bag and a six-pack in it, we would not win.
Okay.
No judge would say, they would ask me, Mr. Walton, what do you mean then by all other liquor sales after you say they can engage in sales for on-site consumption? What else is there besides off-site consumption? And I could not answer that question. So again, this is for clarity, it's for comfort, it gives them comfort that, they clearly can do it under this ordinance. And it will sunset at the end of the, disaster declaration. If they continue to engage in those sales, I guess we'll have an enforcement question on our hands. It's not the worst thing that could happen.
Well, my question is if we can't win it anyhow, even if we didn't
Well, that's
have
what I mean.
this,
We would have an enforcement
we
question.
might as well just go ahead
And I would have that conversation with the chief, and I would probably tell him, don't ticket him.
So when you said that this ordinance would sunset, what is that date? What sunset?
Well, in the event, it's only during the period of the governor's declaration of emergency. So by its terms, once that, right now it runs through April 30. It's probably going to get extended. So once the governor's declaration of emergency ends, this will end.
Okay.
But like any other ordinance, we could repeal it at any time too. We could decide, hey, this is getting out of control. Let's, and then I would recommend a wholesale clarification of all of our license classifications and what they can and cannot do, as opposed to just lifting it for a temporary period.
Any other trustees on the phone have any questions or comments?
No.
Okay, if we're ready to vote then, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Carter.
Aye.
Trustee Mariscal.
Aye.
Trustee Kazam.
Aye.
Trustee Gett.
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg.
Aye.
Trustee DeVore.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. The next action item is approval of ordinance 2020-1624, an ordinance amending the village code for the purpose of establishing a quorum for village board meetings. Trustee Gett, I'd ask for a motion to approve that.
I make a motion.
And do I have a second?
I said,
Okay.
Second?
Okay, we have a second. I believe that was Trustee Kazam was in first on the second. So
Trustee Kazam, can you confirm that was you?
go ahead, counsel.
Yeah, I think it was both Sarah and myself, so either one, I guess.
All right, thank you.
I have a question. When we talked about this last time, we were talking about that our ordinance didn't include the mayor in the majority, and I don't see where that's. It just says Board of Trustees.
Correct. And the reason is, there's a difference between the trustees, which are the 6 individuals that have the trustee title, and the Board of Trustees, which is 7 people, 6 trustees
Okay.
and the
So
president.
he's included in, by saying board,
He is on the board, but he's not a trustee.
but he's included for the quorum, for the vote.
Well, under this ordinance, he would be. Under our existing ordinance, he is not.
I just want to make sure people
Yep.
talked about that.
I'm adding the word board of instead of
I
the
didn't see where it said
trustees.
Mayor, so.
Right.
The little word board.
Yep.
Makes a big difference.
It
like
does.
Everything else. Okay, did you want to discuss it more?
Well, we discussed it last time. It's just the state statute has always provided that for villages, which are governed by 6 trustees and a president, a quorum exists when there is a majority of the board, which does include the mayor. Our ordinance took us outside of that state statute, which is legal. We are a home rule community. We can tinker with that. I don't think we could say that 2 people is a quorum, but changing it the way that we did is probably legal, but it does leave us sort of outside of the norm, outside of what the state effectively recommends by adopting that code that applies to all other villages that aren't home rule that could not change it. And it's just for the sake of clarification. We don't have to adopt it. We just need to be aware. Again, I got caught unaware. When I was asked what a quorum is, 3 trustees and the mayor is a quorum anywhere in the state, except in Peoria Heights because we had adopted that ordinance that I was unaware of. So again, just a clarification, it's not mandatory. We're not operating illegally with, having mandated that 4 trustees is a quorum. So it's really the prerogative of the board.
So it's, as long as there's not more, any more than 3 of us in the room, we're not violating the Open Meetings Act, we're not a quorum.
Well,
If there's
this is
three of us-
only for public meetings, so it would have been noticed up, so there's no issue with the Open Meetings Act.
Okay, I just want.
Yeah, no, that's a
There's only
good,
3 of us, we're,
nope, this would be for, like, for example, tonight. If 3 of the trustees were unavailable to call in, we got 3 trustees and the mayor, under our ordinance, that would not be a quorum. Under this amendment, it would be. Now, understand, any ordinance requires at least 3 trustees voting in favor of it, in which case then, when there's 3 trustees that vote in favor of an ordinance, that's not enough to pass it, so the mayor gets to vote. So if that situation arises like it did in January, things only get adopted, at least ordinances only get approved if all 3 trustees that are present and the mayor, all 4 vote in favor, because it does take 4 votes.
so, I hate to ask again. So if 2 of the 3 trustees vote for it and the mayor votes for it, but 1 trustee votes against it, it
Does not pass.
Takes 4 to pass.
Okay.
Anyone else have any comments on this or questions for council?
I do. Could you speculate on why that would have been our ordinance?
No idea. I have no idea why
Probably,
that.
what, 100 years ago?
It's really old. It could have been just, drafting error. They left out the word board. I mean, honestly, I don't know.
They weren't as picky about it way back when. And it could very possibly be they just left the word out, didn't realize.
What I would say is there have been changes in the voting, the effect of when the mayor or the president in a village can vote over the years. A lot of changes were made in the 70s and 80s on that. So this may have been something in response to that. I would just be hazarding a guess.
All right, I'm going to ask any trustees on the phone, if you have any questions or comments on this, go right ahead and identify yourself first. Any other comments? If you're ready for the question, Madam Clerk.
Trustee Carter?
Aye.
Trustee Mariscal?
Aye.
Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Gett?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. The next action item is a bid opening from Kone Elevators, and we have 1 bid, so we can approve this tonight, council, is that correct?
My recommendation would be open it. If it's easy to announce what the bid is.
on the next-
Announce it and then put it on the next agenda for action.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk.
Okay, so it looks like they have submitted a proposal cost for annual maintenance for the next 5 years. To save some time, since there are 5 different numbers here, I will give this to Chief and Administration and ask them to send it out to the board. Is that all right, Mayor?
Let's hear the number.
Oh, you would like to hear the number? Okay. The contract year 2021, the cost would be $2,998. Contract year 2022, the cost would be $3,057.96. Contract year 2023, the cost would be $3,119.20. Contract year 2024, the cost would be $3,181.50. And finally, the contract year 2025, the cost would be $3,245.13.
So can we get that out to the board tomorrow then to have them take a look at that? We'll put it on the agenda for action at the next meeting.
Mayor, could I just have one question regarding that? Stephanie, what was our last contract? What was the term of that? Was it 3 or 5 years? Do you remember?
I don't remember off the top
Okay,
of my head.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, next would be another action item. approval of ordinance 2020-1625, a special ordinance authorizing the seating of private activity bonding authority. Trustee Gett, could I have a motion to approve that?
I make a motion to approve 2020-1625.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Council, would you explain what we're doing here?
I'm sorry, Mayor, where are we at?
The bonding authority that we're giving, ceding to the TRIVDA, is it? Tri-County Regional.
This is a.
Would you mind taking the mic, Mark, so everyone at home can hear you?
I don't recall this from last year, but this is something that we.
We did do it last year.
2 years ago.
Last couple of years.
Oh, 2 years ago, so I may not have been around for that. But it is a common thing that municipalities that are participants do. We're just ceding our bonding authority. And actually, I do have a recollection of somebody being here to give a presentation. We have bonding, private activity bonding authority that we aggregate with a bunch of other communities. And then the organization that oversees this, the initials, I can't tell you what they, Tri-County River Valley Development Authority, will parcel out that bonding authority, the borrowing authority for projects to member communities. One day we may have a project where we want to borrow, and our bonding authority on our own would not be enough to cover that project, but in the aggregate, all the communities that participate, and whoever borrows the money has to pay it back. So we're not giving money away to anybody. We're just giving the authority that we have to issue bonds to this organization.
And if we don't pass this, the money that's allocated will go back to the state, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
This is kind of like a co-op then, right?
It's a bonding co-op. That's a real good way to think of it.
Okay.
Questions, anyone? If you're ready for the question, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Carter. Trustee Carter?
Aye.
Trustee Mariscal?
Aye.
Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Gett?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Trustee Gett, anything else under administration?
I don't believe so. Chief?
Dustin?
Nothing.
No,
Thank you.
okay. Next, we'd be at police. Trustee DeVore, discussion of speed limit on Terrace View Lane. Go ahead, Sarah.
We had just talked about this before, and everybody kind of wanted to think on it a little bit to see if we wanted to make any changes to the speed limit on Terrace View Lane, or if we wanted to make any other changes. So this is just for us to discuss it, to see where everyone's at.
I think the next step was to try to get some of the neighbors in here to have a public meeting regarding it, but I think with the coronavirus thing, I mean, I haven't made any progress on this. So, I mean, we can't bring people in here right now anyway, so.
So, Chief, how have we done this in the past when there's been an issue specific to a neighborhood? Have we mailed out letters to the homeowners? How have we done that?
Well, there's a couple different ways it's been done in the past. We've had some instances where board members have reached out to neighbors to get the input. I mean, I'll use a stop sign up here just down the street from Village Hall. That was where a trustee kind of pulled the neighbors to see what and invited them to a public meeting to comment about it. There's also been issues where I've contacted the neighbors and asked them input if I'm familiar with the area. So there's really no, cookie cutter approach to this. I think that moving forward, I think last time we discussed and we were going to try to, there was some discussion regarding a village-wide lowering of the speed limit. There was also, start with a handful of areas first, the most, I should say complaint-driven. But because of everything going on, I think all of that's kind of ran into a stop sign, no pun intended. So moving forward, I think that, we can, I would recommend the trustees reaching out to the neighbors. I think that's very important. Invite them to a board meeting, to a board meeting to make public comment. And if you need statistics, we can do that now. In the past, we've done that as well. We'll send officers out to do, we'll run stationary radar between A and B, get some data for you, and I will report on that to help that along with public comment. So there's another thing we can do. But we have to identify them.
Have we had the trailer on Terrace View?
We have had the trailer. It's really a unique place to put the trailer, because once you put the trailer in front of somebody's house, you're taking away some of their parking. So they're not always, we've had people move the trailer, believe it or not. So we've had to get involved, and that's a different issue. So I understand it, but the trailer down there, it's better for the officers to go down there and run radar from a certain area. That's been more effective, so.
So I know you originally brought this up, Trustee Weisenberg. I would just encourage you to work with Trustee DeVore. I'll do whatever the majority of the board wants. If we want to send out a formal contact to everyone or informal. So I think we'd be better to wait till this present crisis passes us, but can you?
I agree.
Trustee DeVore, what are you thinking about this?
I agree with you. I would like us to move forward in starting to think about lowering the speed limit in all of our neighborhoods. I do think that needs to be dropped, but I don't know necessarily the process of how we go about that moving forward. And I know that right now this is kind of a unique time, so maybe that's something we look at again when this is all lifted.
I think if we're talking about lowering the speed limit village-wide, I think we really need to hit a media release on that, get it out to as many people as we can, and get as much input as we can. So I think that's going to have to be sit down and come up with a game plan moving forward. I don't think it's just a matter of making a couple of calls if we're talking about village-wide. Let's come up with a plan on this and that's more efficient than just visiting a couple of neighbors, because that's going to affect everybody.
I agree.
So
I agree.
And I don't want to interrupt anyone, but I thought that we had talked about maybe this being incorporated into the, comprehensive plan. It's something we looked at in conjunction with all the other changes and, things that are happening in the future in the next few months.
I think that's the right process, and I sat through all of the public meetings, and they were all very well attended. People did bring up speeding, and that was one of the things that wasn't overwhelming, but I did hear that. So I would think that we would wait until all the information is gathered from Hostel Levine. Now, if we're aware of a particular neighborhood or a street that has a problem, I think we can act at any time. But that's what I would prefer we do. I've only been contacted by one person on Terrace View, and that person was not in favor of reducing the speed limit, but that's just one person. So I know we've had other people contact trustees and say they do want the speed reduced. So that's why I think we need to hear from all the neighbors in that area. But I would just ask Trustee Weisenberg and Trustee DeVore to continue to think about this and put it back on the agenda when you feel the time is right. Does that make sense?
For me, it does, yes.
Trustee DeVore, okay?
Yes, I agree. Yep.
Trustee DeVore, anything else under police?
No, Mayor, not that I know of.
Chief Sutton?
No, just briefly, I'd like to thank our residents for adhering to the stay-at-home order. I think that we're getting a lot of compliance from our community. I get these reports from police department every morning when we meet. I'm very proud of our community. They're really adhering to the order. We really are having isolated incidents. We are checking them out, and I would say 99% of the time they're unfounded. So hats off to our community moving forward. I just want to point that out, Mayor.
I got a question real quickly.
Go ahead.
I don't know if it's better suited for miscellaneous or for police. I saw a comment by a resident in the Heights regarding someone parking in front of their mailbox on the street. I believe they'd contacted the police department about it.
That's true.
So I didn't know what the resolution was. I don't think, I went through our ordinances. I don't think we have anything on the books.
Well, we actually do. I located an old ordinance. It does state that it has to be posted, and it is not. So our officers have contacted both parties and tried to come up with a mutual agreement so this individual can get their mail. From my understanding as well, it depends on the carrier. A certain person will go out of their way to get their mail. So we're working with them on that. I did meet this morning with our guys who briefed me on it. So I think if we're going to enforce that ordinance, I have to get signage up, but hopefully we can deal with this with kid gloves and everybody can come out a winner. So,
okay.
So just so I understand, was that Another neighbor parking in front of someone's mailbox?
Yeah, so
Someone
they
else?
weren't getting their mail because someone else was parking in front of their mailbox. And
Okay.
it does depend on the carrier. Some carriers will get out and put the mail in there, some won't.
That's a pretty serious issue if you're someone waiting on a check or
Right.
something. All right.
Right.
So we'll look into that.
It's already been looking into, Mayor, but I will have an update this week.
Awesome.
Okay, anything else under police? Next, we would be at item 8. It's the approval of the mayor's emergency actions, and just for the sake of time, rather than individually approving, I think, 11 items, I had this put on the agenda this way, but I'm going to ask for transparency, ask the clerk if you would. Madam Clerk, read every one of these items that we'll be approving. So when she does that, I'll ask for a motion to approve. If anyone wants to carve out an item to vote on separately, you're able to do that. So just if you just ask, I ask for items so-and-so to be voted on separately. Madam Clerk, go ahead.
Okay, these are items of routine business that the mayor would approve if the board is all right with that. The items are approval for use of Tower Park for American Cancer Society's Night of Hope on June 12th, 2020. Approval of use of Tower Park for National Cancer Survivors Day on June 7th, 2020. Approval for use of Tower Park for public worship concerts on May 31st, 2020 and September 19th, 2020. Approval for use of Tower Park for Strides for Justice 5K on September 26th, 2020. Approval of payment to Herman and Associates for Samuel Avenue Engineering in the amount of $12,602.40. Approval of payment to Alexis Fire for repairs in the amount of $5,827.75. Approval for stop sign fundraising event for the Lions Club on October 10th, 2020. Approval for stop sign fundraising event for the Peoria Leathernecks Marine Corps League on October 17th, 2020. Approval for stop sign fundraising event for Peoria Heights Fire Department on April 11th, 2020, with a backup date of July 25th, 2020. Approval of quarterly review of Chuck's Auto Sales Special Use Permit. And the final item is approval of Heights Flowers Special Use Permit.
Before I ask for a motion, council, this would be better described as really a consent agenda, would it not?
I agree.
Okay, would that be how you'd recommend it be put on the agenda in the future?
I think that would be fine. We should have an ordinance that applies for a consent agenda. That's something that I'll draft up. It's real simple to do. A lot of routine things can be dealt with one vote, and these items among them.
Thank you. So I would ask for a motion to approve this.
So moved.
A second.
Anyone want to pull any specific item off individually? Any discussion on the motion?
I just have one question, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
For all of these things that we approved in Tower Park, I mean, those are all contingent that all of our stay-at-home orders are listed, correct?
Thank you, Trustee DeVore. So council, give your opinion on that. These all are subject to complying with the governor's federal order.
Absolutely, no question.
A good question. Anyone else? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Carter. Trustee Carter.
Aye.
Trustee Mariscal.
Aye.
Trustee Mariscal, did I hear an aye?
Aye.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Trustee Kazam.
Aye.
Trustee Gatt.
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg.
Aye.
Trustee DeVore.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Any miscellaneous business come for the board?
This is Cheryl. I do.
Go ahead.
I don't know how we can do it, but is there any way that we can ban the burning until the shelter in place is lifted?
Ban open burning? Is that,
And ban the burning, you know how we have burning, we allow the burning.
council,
Can we ban that until the shelter in place is lifted?
I'll let Mark Walton answer that.
We absolutely could. I would recommend that we do that with an ordinance that just simply says, kind of like the liquor license ordinance that we just passed, during the period of the gubernatorial declaration of emergency, no open burning, and then we got to get the word out there, but absolutely we could do that. It's something I can draft up for the next meeting if you want. Is there any kind of...
Well, that's something I do know that there are very strong feelings on both sides of that issue.
There
so
are.
I want to make
Oh,
sure we
yeah.
get plenty of comment.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, I won't go as far as to say to burn a complete ban on burning. Now, do we want someone during this period to sit there and smother leaves for 24 hours? No, but I wouldn't want to show up with the police when someone's having a little fire in their backyard with a few logs. I mean, what's open?
Are you getting complaints, Trustee Carter, or do you have anything specific you want to address?
No, I just heard, a few people talking that, that when they burn, now that everybody is like in shelter, they shouldn't be outside burning. And everybody else, that can't enjoy stepping outside, because we're all stuck at home. Well, I should say for us that are stuck at home. Well, you have to admit too, the coronavirus is lung affected. So if anybody is fighting it, and a lot of people aren't being tested, but if they're fighting it at home, you already have that lung capacity problem, and then you've got smoke coming in the windows too, or the doors, or whatever. I don't see why we couldn't do it just until the ban is lifted.
I tell you what we'll do. We'll put that on for discussion on the next agenda, but if you have specific concerns, if you'd make them aware to Dustin over the next couple of days so we can have administration and Mr. Walton prepared to answer your questions. But
Trustee Carter, are you talking about a temporary ban or a ban altogether, just to be clear?
Just a temporary. I just want it banned until the shelter in place is lifted.
And when we talk,
okay, that makes sense then.
when we talk open burning, are we talking about recreational fires as well?
No, there's some, in the ordinance, there's some stipulation in the ordinance regarding burn pits and stuff like that. Recreational is different.
You probably have a boilerplate ordinance, another.
I could certainly come up with language if the sense that I'm getting is that we may want to temporarily ban, for example, leaf burning, landscape waste burning, but not necessarily the bonfire in your backyard with a few logs.
I wouldn't support an all-out ban of
Right.
burning.
Well,
And there is a big difference between burning a few logs and a...
the ordinance we got now, you're not allowed to burn building material
Right.
stuff, so.
Yeah, our current ordinance, you can, recreational is fine, and that's in there now. So, yeah, there's certain things you can't, construction material, I mean, there's
Right.
hours, obviously there's now.
So
I know
under,
a lot of people like the recreational burning here in the Heights, myself among them.
Yes, and on the ordinance we got now, the time is what?
6 to 6.
6 to 6?
With
I mean-
recreational being midnight, if I understand correctly.
I believe so, yes.
Council, you'll be able to disseminate a lot of information over the next couple of days. to the
Absolutely,
trustees.
absolutely. I'll communicate with Chief Sutton and make a recommendation, but I think it would be very easy to come up with an ordinance to temporarily ban burning of landscape waste.
I heard two trustees express concern, so we'll put this on the agenda.
Okay.
And I'll ask everyone to please, if you're able, to call, contact, or email Chief Sutton to let him know your specifics, what you're in favor of, what you're opposed to. So we'll try and get that on. Anyone else under miscellaneous? Thank you, Trustee Carter. Any other miscellaneous?
My neighborhood would be against it.
Hearing none, we be at the payment of bills. I'd ask for a motion to pay the bills.
So moved.
I have a motion,
Second?
and I have a second. Any discussion on the motion or any question on the bills? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Carter.
Aye.
Trustee Mariscal.
Aye.
Trustee Kazeo.
Aye.
Trustee Gett.
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg.
Aye.
Trustee DeVore.
Aye.
Okay, the bills are paid. Next would be the treasurer's report. I'd ask for a motion. Would Madam Clerk go ahead and read the report, please?
All right, this is for February. At the end of February, in the village-controlled accounts, there was a total of $2,670,786.96. In the water-controlled accounts, there was a total of $1,105,523.43.
I would ask for a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second.
A motion is second. Just one quick question, Madam Clerk. I don't know if you have it in front of you, but where are we versus a year ago on cash on hand and on your report? I know
I couldn't speak to specifics, but we have more than we did
stronger
here.
position today?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
thank you.
definitely.
Anyone else on the treasurer's report? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Carter?
Aye.
Trustee Mariscal? Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Gett?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Thank you.
That passes, and before I ask for a motion to adjourn, I want to thank you all, especially those of you on the phone. This worked a lot better, this meeting, than the last one, but thanks to Chris and Stephanie and Sarah and Dustin and Emily, who worked really hard over the last few days to make this as smooth as possible. It's not perfect, but it's the best we have under the circumstances. I think it worked pretty well tonight, so thank you all. Trustee Gett? Oh,
I
you
have
have-
moved to.
go.
I was just going to say, I wanted to give Stephanie and Chris credit, okay? I administratively watched from up there. They did all the work. So thank you for an outstanding job on this. It works very well, so.
Move to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it.
Dustin, why don't you back that in?
Thank you all.
So I did little things like.
On the mail.